Ryan Melcher never imagined he'd learn about his grandmother's death the same way the rest of the world did, on Facebook. Doris Day, America's sweetheart and the voice behind Secret Love, passed away at 97, leaving behind a legacy as dazzling as it was mysterious. Yet, for Ryan, she was the grandmother he hadn't seen in 14 years, thanks to a tangled web of family secrets, a controlling manager, and a $22 million betrayal. Now, Ryan is breaking his silence to reveal the truth about the Hollywood icon the world adored but barely knew. Doris Day's journey to fame began far from the glittering lights of Hollywood. Born Doris Mary Ann Kappelhoff on April 3, 1922 in Cincinnati, Ohio, she grew up in a modest working-class neighborhood. Her father, William, was a music teacher, and her mother, Alma, a homemaker. But life was anything but easy for Doris. She never met her older brother Richard, who tragically died before she was born, and his loss deeply shaped her family. Things became even harder when her parents divorced, a shocking event for the time. Doris and her mother faced tough challenges, particularly during the Great Depression. Yet even then, young Doris stood out for her grit and determination. At just 12 years old, she won a contest by standing on her hands for over 3 hours, earning free dance lessons. That moment wasn't just a childhood victory. It was a glimpse of the unstoppable drive that would define her life. Doris dreamed of being a professional dancer, but fate had other plans. At 14, just before a trip to Hollywood that could have launched her career, she was in a catastrophic car accident. A train struck the car she was riding in, shattering her legs so badly that doctors feared they might have to amputate. For over a year, Doris couldn't walk and endured grueling surgeries, but she found solace in music, singing along to her favorite artist, Ella Fitzgerald, on the radio. Her mother recognized her talent and arranged singing lessons with Grace Rain, who later called Doris the most gifted student she'd ever taught. By 15, Doris was singing professionally, starting at a small Chinese restaurant where she earned just $5 a night. It was humble work, but it was a start. One evening, while performing at a local nightclub, she caught the attention of bandleader Barney Rapp. He was searching for a female singer, and Doris's voice stopped him in his tracks. There was just one problem. She was too young to work in venues serving alcohol. Undeterred, Doris lied about her age, claiming she was 18. She knew the risk, but wasn't about to let the opportunity slip away. In 1939, Doris officially became Doris Day. Barney Rapp thought her last name, Kappelhoff, was too long for a marquee. Inspired by her rendition of the song Day After Day, he suggested the name Doris Day. At first, she hated it, dismissing it as overly flashy, but it stuck, and soon it would become one of the most recognized names in Hollywood. Doris's big break came at just 18 when she joined Les Brown's band in 1940. But even that moment was fraught with doubt. Before her audition, Doris was so nervous that she nearly backed out. Les Brown himself had to reassure her, reminding her of the talent he'd heard. Mustering her courage, Doris performed Embraceable You, leaving the band awestruck. She got the job, but life on the road wasn't always glamorous. On Valentine's Day in 1941, Doris received devastating news. Her brother Paul had died in a car accident. Heartbroken, she chose to perform that night, channeling her grief into her music. Her hauntingly emotional performance moved the audience to tears, showcasing the raw vulnerability that would make her a star. It was this unique ability to connect through her music that set Doris Day apart, and it was only the beginning of a career that would captivate the world. What if a single song could change the course of a career, and a twist of fate could turn a singer into a Hollywood legend? For Doris Day, that moment came in 1945 with the recording of Sentimental Journey. Les Brown, her bandleader, initially hated the song, calling it old-fashioned. But Doris, driven by a belief in the track, refused to back down. She threatened to quit unless they recorded it, and the rest is history. Sentimental Journey went on to become a massive hit, symbolizing the emotional return of soldiers from World War II. Ironically, Doris was battling a cold during the recording, which gave her voice the husky, emotional sound that would later become her trademark. But that was just the beginning. Doris Day's career was marked by a series of surprising moments, each one more unexpected than the last. In 1947, she took a bold step into a solo career, signing a lucrative contract with Columbia Records. The pressure was on. She was one of the first female artists to land such a massive deal. However, her first recording session didn't go as planned. Doris found the songs they picked for her outdated and uninspired, leading to a fiery standoff with the studio. Finally, she was allowed to choose her own tracks, and it was that decision that led to the iconic's magic. Not only did it sell over 2 million copies, but Doris also earned an Oscar nomination for the single. In a stroke of genius, she recorded the song in just one take, leaving the entire studio in awe. Doris's story is full of moments that defy expectations. In 1953, the song Secret Love, written for her movie Calamity Jane, almost didn't happen. Doris thought the lyrics were too sentimental and initially refused to sing it. But after a late-night visit from the director and a bottle of champagne, she reluctantly agreed to record the song. What followed was a performance so powerful that the entire studio was left in tears. Secret Love stayed at #1 on the Billboard charts for 19 weeks and even won an Oscar, making Doris Day the first person to both act in a film and sing an Oscar-winning song. Despite her success, Doris struggled with the pressure of being America's sweetheart. She was nervous about performing Secret Love live, even refusing to sing it at the Oscars due to her stage fright. Hollywood wasn't always kind to her, and some critics labeled her difficult to work with. Though this couldn't have been further from the truth. Over time, Secret Love would take on a new meaning for the LGBTQ+ community, becoming an anthem of hidden love and personal struggle. Doris was deeply moved when she learned of its impact and became an outspoken supporter of the LGBTQ+ community. Doris Day's Hollywood journey took another unexpected turn when she was discovered at a party by songwriters Jules Stein and Sammy Cahn. Impressed by her voice, they encouraged her to try acting. When Betty Hutton dropped out of Romance on the High Seas, 1948, due to pregnancy, Doris stepped in. Although she had never acted before, her performance was so natural that the director, Michael Curtiz, called her the most everything girl he had ever seen. This film launched her into stardom, and soon she was a household name. In the 1950s, Doris became one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, earning top roles in musicals like Calamity Jane, 1953, where she performed her own stunts, and The Pajama Game, 1957, which was another huge success. But it wasn't all lighthearted musicals. In 1955, Doris took on a darker role in Love Me or Leave Me, where she portrayed Ruth Etting, a singer trapped in an abusive relationship with her manager. This dramatic departure from her usual roles showcased a new depth to her acting abilities, earning her critical acclaim. Doris's legacy as a Hollywood icon was cemented in the late 1950s and early 1960s, when she became the highest-paid actress in America, earning $750,000 per film. But even amidst her fame, she struggled with the pressure of maintaining the perfect public image. She later revealed the difficulty of always living up to the America's Sweetheart label, despite the impact she had on movies, music, and culture. By the late 1960s, Doris shifted her focus to television, starring in The Doris Day Show from 1968 to 1973. The show was constantly reinvented, mirroring the cultural changes of the time. After it ended, Doris made a bold move to leave acting behind and dedicate herself to a cause close to her heart: animal welfare. Inspired by the death of her dog Tiny, Doris used her platform to advocate for animal rights, founding the Doris Day Animal Foundation in 1978. Her legacy as both a beloved star and an activist would remain one of the most surprising and impactful stories in Hollywood history. Doris Day's life was filled with twists and turns, each more surprising than the last. From overcoming a childhood of loss to becoming one of the most beloved stars in Hollywood, Doris's journey was anything but predictable. But one of the most unexpected chapters came after her glittering movie career slowed down, when Doris found a new purpose in life: protecting animals. While many of us associate her with sunny films and unforgettable songs, Doris Day's legacy is just as much about her impact on animal welfare. In 1995, she launched World Spay Day, an initiative to combat pet overpopulation that eventually spread to 70 countries, saving millions of animals. By using her fame, Doris changed laws, raised awareness, and made sure animal rights were a priority. But her incredible contributions to animal welfare weren't the only surprise in her later years. At 89, she stunned the world with the release of My Heart, an album featuring songs recorded decades earlier, many written by her late son, Terry Melcher. The album's success was a fitting capstone to Doris's enduring talent. It even charted in the top 10 in the UK, making her the oldest artist to ever land such a feat. Yet, even with her career triumphs and fame, Doris's personal life was often marred by struggles and heartbreak. At just 17, she married trombonist Al Jordan, and what followed was years of abuse that would shape much of her life. Doris didn't walk away easily. She tried to hold on, but the violence escalated, leaving her shaken and scarred. This abusive marriage was just the beginning of Doris's painful relationships. Her second marriage to saxophonist George Widler ended in divorce just 8 months after their wedding, mainly due to his insecurity over her rising fame. But the real betrayal came in 1951 when Doris married Martin Melcher. She thought she'd found happiness, but instead he became her manager, draining her finances and secretly sabotaging her career. When he died in 1968, Doris discovered that her fortune had been stolen, leaving her deeply in debt. To pay off the mounting bills, Doris was forced into the Doris Day Show, a decision that further strained her. And even with all of this, Doris faced her most difficult battle in silence: anxiety and depression. Despite the darkness, Doris's life wasn't defined by these struggles. Through it all, she continued to shine in the public eye, using her fame to help animals and quietly find peace. But perhaps the greatest gift she left behind was her son, Terry Melcher. While Doris was fighting personal demons, Terry was building his own music career, helping create iconic hits with the Beach Boys and working with some of the biggest names in the industry. But even Terry's life would take an unexpected turn. In 1968, he lived in the infamous house on Cielo Drive, the very location of the horrific Sharon Tate murders by the Manson family. Doris Day's story is one of resilience, reinvention, and love. It reminds us that even those who seem to have it all may be fighting their own battles behind closed doors. Yet through it all, Doris continued to leave an impact on Hollywood, on music, and on the lives of animals worldwide. Imagine being the grandchild of a Hollywood legend, yet feeling like a stranger in their life. This was the heartbreaking reality for Ryan Melcher, Doris Day's grandson, who tragically found out about her death in 2019, not from family, but from social media. The revelation shattered any hope of reconciliation, but the seeds of their estrangement had been planted long before that moment. It all began in 2004, after the death of Doris's only son, Terry Melcher. In the wake of his passing, Doris reached out to Ryan, hoping to reconnect. But when an attempt to meet over dinner was thwarted by her new business manager, Bob Bashara, things took a painful turn. Bashara, instead of facilitating the reunion, made it clear Ryan wouldn't be allowed to see his grandmother. He even blamed the rift on Ryan's parents' divorce, a statement that only deepened the divide. Years went by, and Ryan moved on, becoming a real estate agent in Carmel. Meanwhile, Bashara reportedly took control of Doris's Animal Welfare Foundation, replacing board members with his own family. Ryan, despite his growing regret for not doing more to mend the relationship, felt helpless, as Doris's home became more like a fortress, both physically and emotionally. Yet, Doris's withdrawal from the world wasn't just about family drama. By the 1990s, she had become a virtual recluse, focusing entirely on her 11-acre ranch in Carmel, where she cared for up to 30 dogs. For Doris, this was a sanctuary, far from the public eye that had once adored her. She turned down major honors, including the Kennedy Center Awards, preferring the solitude of her animals. Even her final public appearances were few, her last TV interview in 1994 and her last Golden Globes appearance in 1989. As Doris grew more isolated, tensions with Ryan escalated. Bashara continued to manage her affairs, and Ryan felt increasingly cut off, left to watch his grandmother's life from a distance. But was it all as simple as misunderstandings? According to Doris's publicist, Charlie Cullen Walters, efforts to reconnect with Ryan were made, including a chance for a reunion on Doris's 90th birthday in 2014. Yet Ryan didn't respond. His own avoidance of Hollywood fame may have contributed to the growing rift, making the situation even more complex. Doris's final years were marked by privacy, animal welfare, and a family dynamic fraught with tension. The tragedy of her estranged relationship with Ryan adds a layer of sadness to her legacy, showing that sometimes the greatest challenges come not from the outside world, but from within.